G'day, I'm Steve, and I've got my current draft up on screen. Now, there's only 1 week left, and only a couple of key questions that I am still asking myself with this draft. What do I do if Haaland doesn't start the Community Shield? How many brand new or minute risk players am I willing to risk taking into game week 1? Like Anderson, with no preseason minutes as of the time of recording, or Vuskovic, is he even going to start game week 1? And how early am I going to be wildcarding? And yes, if you haven't noticed, from my last few drafts on this channel, I'm hitting the bench boost in game week 1. Now, first of all, yeah, I know the draft hasn't changed much. I tend to find players that I'm definitely going to start the season with and then fill in the gaps around them. That's why you'll see my previous videos are largely focused on the differentials and the enablers like Trai, Hume, Lacey or Dorgu at United, Andrey Santos, who I've got on my squad, and my bench. Because my locked-in players were pretty obvious very early on, and that's due to some pricing blunders, which we will touch on in this video. So let's go on over my locked-in players, the differentials, and my current thinking on what to do with Haaland if he doesn't start the Community Shield, and why I'm planning to wildcard early this season. So first of all, if you're watching my videos, then you're probably already a very engaged manager, especially considering I'm a small channel that's not even yet reached 1.5k subscribers. Well, that and the fact that I am a software architect and can quite often get focused on technical details with basically everything. So I'll only briefly cover each obvious locked-in player, because the last thing you will need is a slightly altered regurgitation of the same talking points that are on repeat across the YouTube world. Now, Kinsky and Verbruggen, I've bounced around the keepers a little bit now, but I don't see myself moving away from these two for game week 1 on a bench boost. They both rotate pretty nicely afterwards, they play for good or improving teams, and they only cost 9 milli. Mosquera, Diop, and Trai Hume. Now, there's no real need to talk about Mosquera. If you're listening to this video, then you almost certainly know everything about him already. Trai Hume, on the other hand, I have covered in detail a little over a week ago now, so I won't go into too much detail again here. By all means, go back and have a look at that video. But it is nice to see him starting to get noticed by other managers and content creators on YouTube. They are a little bit late to the party. Maybe that preseason goal has made people take notice. It is a shame, really. He really could have saved that goal for game week 1 to give me a much better effective ownership. Last week when I started talking about him, he was only 2.3% owned in the game. That's now shot up to 4.9%. So he is still a differential. But of course, the engaged managers are definitely starting to click on. Now, all I will say about Trai Hume is that I am not as worried about his minutes as many other managers seem to be. Plus, I'm almost certainly wildcarding early anyway. Well, I am wildcarding early, so I can deal with it then if it all turns tits up. Now, Diop really comes down to a choice of Diop versus O'Shea, because I need a £4 million player on the bench with a good game week 1 fixture. Now, O'Shea, last time in the Premier League, he got 22 shots, 2 on target, 0 goals, and that was from 35 matches playing for Ipswich. Diop, on the other hand, 2 shots, 1 on target, 1 goal, and that was from 8 matches. Now, I know that's a very small sample size, but I mean, those are the numbers. There's not really much else to say. What are you expecting from a 4 million defender anyway? You just want to start a small chance of a return, and anything else is bonus. So Diop provides goal accuracy on top of O'Shea's clean sheet potential. They both play for the same team, so they both got the same clean sheet potential. But Diop provides more goal accuracy. Both are probably in the running for some DC points. Now, even though O'Shea's DC was quite superior to Diop's the last time Ipswich were in the Premier League, but like I said, Diop was playing for Fulham and only played 8 fixtures, so again, that would have been a small sample size for whoever's doing that comparison. And Fulham weren't getting as pummeled as what I think Ipswich will be this season. So I'm going with Diop. Now, Fernandes, Mbeumo, and Andrey Santos, my Manchester United triple up. Now, we can also skip over Bruno Fernandes for the same reason as Mosquera. He's basically been in every single one of my drafts, and he's been captain in basically every single one of my drafts. I think I might have had it on Haaland for like the very first one until I looked at Hull and was like, nope, we'll go Bruno. I think Hull are going to get crushed this season, like the top 5 worst point tallies of all time. They're going to get absolutely creamed. In fact, I think they're going to get more dominated than a sub. And I'm not even talking about the football bench or hitting that subscribe button. Now, Mbeumo has been in every single draft I've made since his first preseason appearance playing up front for the Devils. He's a beast. Pure quality. Numbers off the charts. Accurate. Good shot selection. Fast. And has all of the football smarts. Now, what else do you want from an FPL asset than a guy playing for one of the most attacking teams, out of position as their number 9, and having Hull and Ipswich as their first 2 fixtures? You'd literally have to pry him out of my dead hands not to start with him this season. I don't know why most of the other content creators have been sleeping on him for so long. They're probably just trying to churn out content for content's sake. Andrey Santos. Given I need a midfielder to fit in Haaland, Bruno, and Mbeumo, I have been hunting for a top midfield budget differential. Now, Santos is priced super kindly at 5.0 mil because of his serious lack of minutes at Chelsea last season. He only got 13 starts from the 27 that he was available for and scored 1 goal for Chelsea. Nothing to write home about, right? But he did get 3 goals and 4 assists across all competitions. He also hedges the clean sheet point off Lemons, Maguire, and Shaw owners. He's playing CDM at United, which will give him lots of opportunities for defensive contributions. Now, I'm not having a crack here. I love the style of football that Carrick has us playing, but it does mean that we can lose possession as we've now got license to just go for it out on the field. Beautiful football to watch, but it does mean that we turn over possession a little bit more than some. Now, with Tielemans likely to be the box-to-box midfielder, Santos has not got too much other competition in the squad for that CDM position. Now, Casemiro has left to go and play with Lionel at Inter Miami. Carrick took over mid-January this year and has had 7 months working with Kobbie Mainoo. Now, Mainoo was a 90-minute man under Carrick since he took charge in game week 22 last season. But to me, Mainoo looks laboured in his actions. Kind of like a Virgil van Dijk. He thinks he's got more time on the ball than he actually does. and he is not urgent when it is really necessary. Now United have gone out and bought Tielemans and Santos to replace Casemiro. Now that's a 2-for-1 deal, and they're basically saying we need a lot more in midfield. Now Santos looks sharp, quick passes, accurate, he reads the game. He also has a shot on him as well when he gets himself forward enough, and has won some big tackles that created huge opportunities for United in pre-season already. Now, I did do a little bit of an overview or a review of actual football, where I was breaking down the play on Andrey Santos and a couple of other players. If you want to go and check those out, they're in the back catalogue. Now, all of this makes me think that Mainu will be used as a non-EPL fixture player. But if it does go all tits up, I'm wildcarding early anyway. So what better time to take the punt? Hull and Ipswich, first 2 games, remember? So I really do want to have as much attacking investment as I can for those 2 fixtures. Now, some other obviously locked-in candidates. Haaland, Joao Pedro, and Calvert-Lewin. The template front 3 of all templates. Now, Haaland is just obvious. I will go through my current thinking about what to do if he gets 30 minutes or less in the Community Shield later in this video. I've got a plan for a Haaland audible. But Joao Pedro has been in my squad since 2023 for his first season at Brighton. Now, I love seeing unknown players, tagging them as epic by watching what they do on the pitch, and then buying them into my FPL squad. I mean, what is this game all about if not that, right? We want to watch the players and get invested in them. Now, I know the audience is heavily data analytics. I am too. I am a software architect after all. I spend all day thinking about data and how to structure it for enterprise business, how to construct frameworks for software engineers to implement, and how to define algorithms to run real-world processes, like automatically picking stock out of warehouses as customers send in their orders via electronic data interchange mechanisms. But I'm also a premier youth footballer, right the way through to the first team, playing in the Northern Regional Leagues here in little old New Zealand. So I love football more than the data that it generates. And I'd encourage you all to watch it, rather than just memorizing some numbers on a spreadsheet. Now, I've got totally off tangent again. Get back to Joao Pedro. Yeah, well, enough said on Joao Pedro, I think. He'll be in everyone's teams. He's just priced too kindly. Calvert-Lewin has also kind of been done to death on YouTube as well. He's also basically ensured that the template will be stronger than ever because his price is wrong. Like, really wrong. Far too cheap. I mean, 6 million for a guy that got 14 goals and 1 assist in the Premier League last season. That was from only 30 starts. And that works out as a goal every second game. It's insanity. I don't know what FPL Towers were thinking with this price. It's about 1 million too cheap. Probably even more. Thiago, for comparison, is priced at 8 million. He scored 22 goals and got 1 assist last season for Brentford. But that came from 37 starts. So if we take DCL's 1 goal every 2 games and give him the extra 7 matches that Thiago had, well, he would have scored another 3 to 4 goals, right? So how on earth do we have a 17 to 18 goal striker for 6 million? That's only 4 to 5 goals shy of Thiago for 2 million cheaper. It's just broken. And unfortunately, it's going to form a very strong template across the season unless, of course, he gets injured. Now, I think to fix this problem, FPL Towers should really consider allowing his price to run up as fast as possible. Yes, those that have noticed and got onto him early will reap all of the rewards in terms of price, but they will be forced into difficult decisions later when all of that value is tied up in him. And if you are worried about the casual player, and all the casuals, you keep hearing it from everyone, what about the casuals? Don't. Like, seriously, stop pandering to the casuals. The game will grow faster if you focus on having a high skill ceiling. Just look at what happens with the most difficult games in the world. Like football. Stupidly difficult game. Here you go. Catch this ball with your foot or your head. Blast it at you from 40 meters away. And by the way, you need to sprint around a massive pitch covering like 10 to 13 kilometers per game. It's the most watched sport in the world, the most played sport in the world, the second highest revenue generating sport in the world, second only to the NFL, which is an American sport. And the Americans have all of the world's money. Fortnite. It's also stupidly difficult. Well, the build mode, of course. 0 builds is for the weak players. Or for those that Fortnite are trying to entice from other shooter games out there. And it's not nearly as difficult as football. But it has 110 million monthly active players. That's 22 times larger than the population of New Zealand. Larger than many countries. It was the #1 most played game on both the US PlayStation and Xbox last year in 2025. And it had 40 million entrants to the World Cup in 2019, competing for a $30 million prize pool. Why? Because it's so hard. You have the swings of ups and downs, which brings you back to the game, makes the highs higher, the lowers lower. And if the lowers get too low and people quit, well, they weren't going to play anyway. In these hard games, you can pull off difficult moves that other people can admire. It creates more content. It provides more diversity. It gives less template teams. Shit, I'm kind of off on a bit of a tangent again. Look, just stop pandering to weakness, please. Football is hard. FPL should be hard too. Yeah, so DCL is in my team. He's probably not going anywhere, and he should be in your team too. Now, that's all of the players that are currently locked into the draft. We'll just go through the differentials from here. And starting off with Dan Ballard at the back. He has been sitting in my drafts for ages too. If you go back through my videos, he's been sitting there for a little while. Sunderland, solid defense. They don't score many goals, so the bonus points usually favor defenders. He looks nailed. Maybe not for the entire season, but I'm wildcarding early anyway, so who cares? I do think he will play most of the minutes anyway, if you are actually worried. And he comes with goal threat. Scored in game week 1 last season, and apparently a huge train jumped on him immediately, only for him to get injured 8 minutes into the second match, which looks like it just put heaps of people off him. Now, he started playing 90 minutes again in game week 8 last season. Started pretty much every match that he was available for, apart from those where he was coming back from injury. Centre back got 32 shots, 11 on target. That's a 33% accuracy, which is really good from set pieces. I mean, O'Shea, right? 22 shots, 2 on target or something. I mean, 33 shots, 11 on target. That is something to write home about. Really accurate. And yeah, he is a CB, so he should also do really well on the DEFCON 2. And in a Labrie side that often drops into a low block frequently, I mean, the DEFCON just looks kind of assured. He got 11.08 per 90 last season. And so that is why he is in my squad. Vuskovic, currently sitting on the bench. 6'4" monster. That's 10 centimeters taller than me. He's huge. With that height, he managed to get 7 goals in all competitions last season. 6 of those goals came from the Bundesliga. Now remember, he's a centre-back, and that's 7 goals. That's absolutely mental, like crazy. Now, I know the data analytics guys always like to say that you have to discount some leagues by X% when you move into the Premier League. But how do you remove X% of his height threat? It's kind of ridiculous. What, is he going to shrink as soon as he comes into the Premier League? This is why you can't blindly apply functions to stats. The auto pickers are doing this. In the past, I've said word models. I'm now using a more correct and defined term, auto pickers. Don't use the auto pickers, please. Like, play the game. Don't use auto pickers. You're not really playing the game, you know? I'm just as good as Magnus Carlsen when I sit down at a chessboard with Stockfish. But Vuskovic, is he nailed? Well, he's a record club signing for £46 million. That's a hefty chunk of change for a centre-back, and you don't go spending that much money just to put him on the bench. Now, he has already started pre-season, getting his debut against AS Roma, and they won that game 3-0. And by all accounts, he looked to impress. He's only 19 years old and got lots of room to grow. Probably not too much higher, but in terms of footballing prowess. Now, Brighton's other centre-backs are Struijk, Dunk, Svoboda and Boskagli. Struijk has just been bought from Leeds and will surely play. He looks like he's coming in to start. Svoboda has also been bought, but only for £5 million. Also coming from Serie B. He's probably just going to be playing Europe. Boskagli played 13 of 17 that he was available for last season. Came to Brighton for free, and they've still gone out and spent large on Vuskovic. So that kind of tells you as much as you really need to know. Is Vuskovic going to start in game week 1 though? Yeah, he is. I mean, why wouldn't he? Give me a good reason in the comments if you think he's not going to start. Le Fée looks quality on the ball. Scored an absolute screamer against Liverpool pre-season. Bullet. Top bins on his weak foot. Now, I love me a man after my own heart. Having the use of both feet to hit a ball is OP. Like, so OP, it's not even funny. Defenders just... That's why I was constantly golden boot in the first teams that I was playing for. Having the use of your left foot, it's just OP. For the life of me, I do not understand why so many players in the Premier League do not have this ability. But Le Fée does. And he's got a share of pens. So he's in the squad. Anderson, my boy from last season. Workhorse. Intelligent footballer. Reads the game. Killed the DC last season. I owned him the whole season. Apart from some free hits and dead-ending my team from memory. He's basically a cheat code. Supplying Haaland this year as a box-to-box midfielder. He's not playing for Nottingham Forest anymore. City score goals. Like, lots of goals. But the key question about Anderson is, will he start in game week 1? Now that is a much more important question. And unfortunately, we're going to need the Community Shield to do a lot of the heavy lifting here. Now I have left 0.5 million in the bank for this draft in order to switch him up to Szoboszlai if I can't have him game week 1 for my bench boost. Because I am bench boosting, I really do need a starter in game week 1. Now if I wasn't bench boosting, I'd just put him on the bench. Especially if I wasn't wildcarding early. He's just the kind of player that I'd just chuck in and leave him there and just watch the points roll in. So if you haven't gathered, I think he's worth the risk. And I'm really keen to start with him game week 1. Now Haaland. My Haaland audible. Dependent on what happens in the Community Shield and the number of minutes that he gets. Now, if Anderson and Haaland start, then they're both in my team. Easy as that. No thoughts about it whatsoever. They're just going to be in. I think I'm still going to captain Bruno regardless. So if I think Haaland's starting game week 1, I'm still going to captain Bruno because Hull. Yeah, just because of Hull. This will become a recurring theme throughout the season on my channel. You should chase after those Hull fixtures like Sydney Sweeney in a miniskirt. But if Anderson doesn't start, I will probably just buy Szoboszlai. Haaland is a bit different. Because it's Erling Haaland, the GOAT, setting Guinness World Records and all. If he plays 30 minutes, I'm just going to start with him because he probably starts game week 1. And I don't want to waste the transfer. If he doesn't, though, and for some reason doesn't get any minutes in the Community Shield because he came back way too late, it does get really interesting. Because Isak, probably with penalties, is just sitting there with a depleted Newcastle to play in the first match. His old club, where he trained against the centre-backs in training every single week. He knows all of their weaknesses. And Newcastle's centre-back weaknesses are not very hard to exploit. Just look at what Chris Wood did against them when Forest came up against them in 2023, the first season after Wood left Newcastle. Hat-trick. First match. Isak could do similar things. But then you're kind of booking in a transfer. 2 or more if you start to spread the Haaland funds. Now, I wouldn't. I would just leave 6.5 million in the bank to just buy Haaland straight back. And I know that's a lot of money to leave in the bank, but this is my only alternative. I won't be spreading the money around because I will be having Haaland. So if I do decide to go down the Isak route, for me, it's really only going to be a 1-week punt for a very special case, which is a differential play on Isak because of the Newcastle effect. Now that could totally go tits up. Haaland could still start and score a hat-trick of his own against Bournemouth. And with that 75% ownership that he has, I don't really want to go against it. That ownership, by the way, is screaming out that he is just far too easy to fit in to our squads. And that actually has nothing to do with his price. I think his price is accurate. I think it's a good price. I'm glad they put the prices up. I think they should have put more of the prices up. Calvert-Lewin, for example. There are others in the game. But he's just too easy to fit in because of all these other cheap players, right? Now, if we had, say, a Cole Palmer for 5 million on penalties at Chelsea again, well, Haaland would be in your squad even if he was priced at 17 million. Neither of those players would leave your team all season. So, long story short, I'm probably just going to end up risking the minutes on Haaland and try to find a better use of that one transfer that I will save by starting with him and, just use that transfer later down the track to hopefully buy back more points than whatever I might lose in that very first game week 1 fixture if Haaland doesn't start. Now, I've been saying that I will be wildcarding early this season. Early wildcards seem to happen pretty much every season. I don't see why this season would be any different. But what has changed for me this year is I am basically planning for it. Exactly what week I'm going to wildcard in, I am unsure of right now, but it will be early. Probably game week 4, 5, or 6. I don't see myself pushing it out too much further past that. So why not plan for it from the start, right? So I will be getting at least 3 games out of this team. Hopefully just rolling the transfers to wildcard with 3 in the bank. So it's basically just a full send for me. Bench boost game week 1. Wildcard out of it. Not quite a full send because I will be saving the free hit for, any problems that happen because I am wildcarding early. But to wildcard out of my bench boost in order to put the money back on the pitch and hope to get off to a flyer of a start this season. And all right, well, that wraps up this video. If you stuck it out this long, you're a legend. Thank you very much. Make sure to hit that like button to let YouTube know to put my next video on your home screen. And if you happen to already be sold and want to follow along the journey, by all means, also hit that subscribe. And if you didn't like my takes on all the players in my team, well then, I thank you for listening this long. Until next time, ciao.